Hello everyone, hope you're well. This is CoinsKid, just going to XRP once again. Thank you for support. Big at the CoinsKid crew. So I actually think that XRP saw an impulse late last year, and there's been a sideways correction ever since. And equally, Bitcoin, many of our altcoins are telling us that story as well. That, we saw that big move up last year as anticipated, and what we've done from there has been in these irregular corrections where basically in the sum of the move up from likes of Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin have actually been corrective three-wave moves, not necessarily impulsive. So I'm looking at that. So obviously I can be wrong, but this right now, I think there's lots of data stacking up for this. And this is something I was looking at in the summer with the CoinsKid crew, that basically, if my analysis is correct, we would see a flush in a C wave down to the 1.618 at roughly $1.40. And basically an ABC zigzag correction that we've been in since last year. And I think that's an absolute possibility, okay, because of the data that I'm looking at, that late last year we saw a trigger point in the retail top, the dumb money indicator, that told us, okay, retail's finally showing up, this is the point in which to get dumped on. So I'll look at that with you. So I think we're nearing the end of the correction, not necessarily beginning some kind of bear market. And I think people looking at 4-year cycles are completely wrong, because I actually think that Bitcoin come up in 5 waves last year, and it's just doing exactly what it's done before, but it's more compressed. And what we're getting right now is, institutional money is absorbing some of that supply where, the whales of old that respect the 4-year cycles are beginning to sell. It's being absorbed, because I don't necessarily think we're in the 4-year cycles anymore. I think we're in a new paradigm where basically 2026 could be extremely fruitful for XRP, and I'll show you why, okay? So I think we're nearing the end of the correction, and usually what I do look for in the C wave or the end of correction is 5 waves. So I think this major waterfall that we saw in October was part of the 3rd wave, okay? Because we lost structure, we lost this low, and from there, like I relayed to you, if this comes up and this retraces and loses this low, then this means it's a 3-wave corrective move, and that's something I relayed to you when I came back from holiday, that this retracement can't afford to lose this low, and we've seen that low being lost, okay? So I think the XRP is coming up in a 4, it's retracing and filling this wick. We may even see some kind of truncation. We've seen that before for XRP, and I think 2026 could be extremely fruitful because of the data that I'm looking at with yourselves, okay? So let me dive into the charts, but this currently is now my primary outlook because of the data. Let me show you the dumb money indicator that triggered this particular scenario, okay? So there's a key data point that I relayed to you literally a year ago to the day. The dumb money indicator told us, okay, we've got a window of opportunity here. Bitcoin's come up in 5, it's running out of steam, and we've got a beautiful opportunity on altcoins. And one of those altcoins I was looking at was obviously XRP, because there was a signal on XRP that we'd seen a buy, sell, buy on the 5-day time frame. And the last time we saw that was in a previous compression pattern that led to a huge vertical impulse. And we've got that. And I think what we've seen for XRP since that point is basically sideways ranging consolidation, where the move up from that point, that big vertical that we experienced late last year, is a 3-wave move into the summer. And right now we're in the sort of ending leg to the downside. Now, how long this correction goes on for, I do not know. I've not got a crystal ball. I can't see into the future. But typically what I do look for is 5 waves to the downside, the 5 waves of death, and trend line breaks to confirm the bottom. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm looking for on Bitcoin, okay? Because I think Bitcoin holds the clues going forward that the bottom's in, okay? And I'm going to show you exactly what that is. So really simply, I think the data is telling us that last year was the top of an impulse of Bitcoin. It's been in a bear market ever since. It's got an A wave down, B wave high, and right now you've got some kind of C wave drop that you've been in the summer. I think the move up in XRP is a bull trap. It's not necessarily an impulsive move. And one of the key things I was looking at, if it was to break down below 190 in the the retracement that it was coming from, it would indicate that the 3-wave move up is valid, basically. And this is something I relayed to you in many videos when I come back from the summer. So right now I actually think people looking at this being the top for Bitcoin of a 4-year cycle are doing it wrong. And what we're seeing is a massive amount of absorption from basically whales selling into institutional investment, Michael Saylor's buying as much as he can, things like that. And obviously the ETFs are here right now. So I actually think that Bitcoin's already telling us this cycle's different, and we shouldn't necessarily respect the 4-year cycles where you run for the hills after 4 years. So if we go back in time, I think the bottom was just there, wasn't it? In November of 2022, we got the beautiful bottom, and then we began to break out. And as we come into the spring, we saw Bitcoin come up, and then we went into some kind of sideways correction. And from here, like I said to you, I think this is a wave 2 correction for Bitcoin. From there, I think we've got another impulse to the upside, which will be a 3rd wave, which comes up and breaks the all-time high. And what we did see on that particular point right there in March of 2024 was Bitcoin make history. So it was already telling us, okay, I'm different this time around. This market is completely different to what you've experienced before, because I've made an all-time high before the halvening this time, okay? I've never done it before. So that was a key data point I relayed to you, and you can clearly see that dumb money came into the market again, got really close to a macro correction, didn't quite trigger it, and what we got is sideways consolidation again, where Bitcoin came down, bottom just there in, I think it was the late summer of 2024, and the diamond bottom pattern then came out in its final impulse. So from November 2022, come up into a 1, sideways 2, breakout 3, which was this point, sideways 4, breakout 5, which was this point. So we've saw a 5-wave move up for Bitcoin, and we've got the dumb money triggering correction. Okay, so I actually think we've been in a correction since then, and the confluence is in not just the Bitcoin chart and XRP and the 3-wave move up, it's in the Tether dominance, it's in altcoins, it's in many data points. So in theory, Bitcoin has been in a correction since then, gone sideways. This is the end of the correction coming into the charts, and people think it's the beginning of a bear market. But if this was the top of an impulse in October in a 4-year cycle, then we should have saw all those euphoric moments that we saw in that top of the impulse just there, and we've seen previously. For me, I think that this was some kind of corrective bull trap move for Bitcoin. And one of the key things was with XRP, if it breaks down below 190, it would indicate that move from the spring into the summer was actually a corrective 3-wave move, not an impulsive move. So right now, I think we're actually nearing the end of the correction for XRP and Bitcoin, not necessarily beginning a bear market. So we have to see one thing in the Bitcoin chart for me to get extremely bullish on Bitcoin and XRP again, and I'm going to relay exactly what that is. So until that day comes, I would remain really cautious here for crypto and obviously Bitcoin and XRP as well. So for me, I'm just waiting for a signal in the Bitcoin chart. I'm going to show you exactly what it is, okay? It was one of the things that made me extremely bullish in late 2022. Let me show you exactly what that is, okay? So at the moment, the index is telling us on the macro signal we are chilling, okay? We're sort of below neutral. We're just chilling in the neutral zone right now on a lot of these top 10 coins, because for anyone that's been paying attention, this time last year and obviously in the summer as well, we did see these coins tell us, okay, you're in a sell zone. On the macro signal, you're pushing up, you're in a sell zone right now. So again, Ethereum, I think in the summer, it was coming up. Literally when I come back off holiday, it was in the sell zone. And I did relay to you, okay, if you're buying Ethereum right now because of the big green candles, you're taking on risk, you're very likely to get big red dildos, okay, because obviously with Ethereum, it's pumping, but this is where people tend to buy. And what we do, we buy the blood fear and depression on this channel. We buy the macro buy signal, and this is exactly what we saw for Ethereum in the spring. In the top 10, it was the only one that was telling us to buy it. Okay, and it's really simple. If you take a look, the really simple analysis is the fact that what we've got from this high here in December, we came down this 1, pull back in a 2, waterfall 3, come up in a 4, find a 5th wave down, and then at that point we've got the buy signal. Okay, with bullish divergence on the daily, which are relayed to you, printed the MACD bullish cross, and we bolted. So I actually think we've got an A into a B into some kind of C wave at the moment for Ethereum. This was a top of a move as well. In Ethereum, this is some kind of bull trap that we've experienced for Ethereum. It's a potential 3-wave move up for Ethereum. So right now it's retracing. So what do we have to see in the chart for XRP, Bitcoin, and many other coins to get incredibly bullish on these particular coins again? It really is simple, and we've traded this a million times for Bitcoin. So really simple at the moment. We're just chilling in the neutral zone on the top 10, okay, which is really important. If we do start to break below the BMS, okay, and start to turn it into resistance, which I'll show you in today's video on XRP, we've got to project lower. At that point, we've just got to kick back and wait for the macro signal, just like Ethereum told us in the spring to buy. We'll be waiting for that macro signal again. So stay tuned for that, because I'll relay that opportunity to you if we see it, okay? So really simple. I like to trade trend lines on this channel, okay, and I've been trading for many years. We have a lot of success, and I'll show you the key thing I'm looking at right now for Bitcoin to tell us, okay, we've got a massive window of opportunity on Bitcoin and a lot of these altcoins once more, okay, and until that day comes, there's all the chance that we could fall further to the downside in XRP and Bitcoin, so on and so forth, because no one truly knows where the bottom is. So the bottom usually triggered by 5 waves down and the macro telling us, okay, buy, and we don't quite see it at the moment, which is why I do remain quite cautious here across the market, okay, and I'm looking for a potential scenario of the fact that we've been in a macro correction since December last year, because many charts, for example, Chainlink right now, if we look at Chainlink on the weekly, came up here into December last year, A, B, so right now you're some kind of C wave, which is nasty. You've already lost this low in this big sharp drop to the downside, so that's potentially a third wave. You've got some kind of 1, 2, 3, ABC 4, final 5th wave that comes down into, late this year, which is basically a year-long correction since that impulse in December last year. So I think the confluence is in many other charts. For example, if we take a look at the likes of LTC, LTC is really, really boring actually. It's just going sideways, and again you've got this big crash and correction last year. You got the A, lower high B, and right now you're consolidating a range. I do think LTC, Litecoin, at some point will put in a move like this, and this is why I don't necessarily think that we've seen the top of the impulse here, because in every single cycle we see this from Litecoin. So I think it's consolidating a range, looking for the next leg up, and once we get that, okay, you're seeing the characteristics at the top where you get all your multiple bearish divergence on the weekly, and we've just not seen it just there. I think what we've seen is the confluence of many other charts that for Bitcoin, really simple on the weekly time frame. This actual move into this high this time last year has been a 5-wave move up, and right now you've got some kind of wave 2 correction that you're going through, and then you're going to go vertical for Bitcoin. People are saying I'm too bullish, but until I start to see a loss of structure, primarily the loss of this 74k, I still think we've had a wave 1 into a running flat wave 2, looking to bottom relatively soon, potentially into that God kind of back test, and then we break bull for Bitcoin in 2026 against all odds and expectations. So that is currently what I'm looking at, and with that, obviously XRP is going to go vertical with it. So with XRP, really simple, and Bitcoin, I'm just looking for something in the charts. I'm going to show you exactly what it is, okay? Looking at Bitcoin on the weekly time frame, we have entered some kind of downtrend from this point here, because we do have a low, we've got a lower high, and we've got another lower low. So whether or not it's an ABC or whatever, I'm just looking for more data in that chart, price structure to tell me, okay, the correction's over, and it really is simple. So I know at the moment we've bounced off the BMS, which is beautiful. Okay, we found that support, but I think everyone's looking at that support as well. The bottom of the BMS, which is your 55, 50-week EMA. This is exactly where we're bouncing right now. So I think people are max bidding, but if we start to come up and reject and roll over and come into this low here, I think people will begin to sell. But that could actually be the bottom of the correction where they begin to sell, okay? So keep an eye on the charts, keep an eye on the data, because it really is simple. We only have to see one thing in this chart to confirm the bottom, okay? The correction or bottom of B wave, A wave, whatever, for a trade to the upside, okay? This is what I'm trying to relay to you. So really simple, drop a neckline of resistance from this peak to this peak, and then what we do, you've got your neckline resistance, which is your downtrend, okay, for Bitcoin. So from there, you're coming down the stairs, resistance, 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 break it, fantastic. You got an increased probability. From where you've come, you've got an impulsive move or a move to the upside. So you can trade that, and this is what we trade on the channel, trend lines, okay? And we traded these many times in this cycle, and over the years I've traded these many times with family and friends before I was making videos for you. So from here we've got a neckline of resistance as well. I think it was the first peak of a wave 1, came down an A into a B into a C. Very similar situations to what we're looking at right now. I think we've got a macro version of that, where this is a B wave, just like that B wave bull trap just there, and just like that B wave bull trap just there. It's very common with Bitcoin, where people get really, really over bullish in the B wave, and this is what contributes to it making higher highs. So just here we've got an A, B, C. So whether or not we've got an A, B, C that's as nasty as this, time will tell. But really simple. What I'm looking for in a Bitcoin chart is what I've looked for many, many times with yourselves, and it's just a trend line break. So again, just copy it. To do that, just draw a trend line, resistance, resistance, Control C to copy it, and then Control V to paste it. So again, you broke that neckline just there, resistance, breakout back to see you later, just there. You come up stairs for Bitcoin, last leg of the correction, look at that resistance, resistance, break it back to see you later, just there. I think it was in April, wasn't it? We're coming down, we've got the resistance, we've got a 1, 2, waterfall 3, 4, 5. Break line, your resistance, see you later. And just there, if we go back in time, we've got a beautiful neckline of resistance just there in August and September of 2020. Again, beautiful. And I remember trading these necklines, okay, with my family and friends, and I've been trading necklines of resistance for a very long time myself. This is why at this point I'll drop this neckline on for anyone who paid attention. I said to you, once we break this, Super Bull, okay? So look at this, resistance, 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 coming up, broke it, yay, fell back to its support, lost it for a quick minute because of the corona dump, into this God candle back test, amazing, broke out, see you later. So trend lines of resistance are amazing in downtrends of Bitcoin, because once you break them, you do tend to respect them as resistance, but once you break them, it's a massive increased probability of a big move to the upside, okay? And we've seen that, even though I'm looking at some kind of ABC, this was still a nice move up, wasn't it? It was a nice trade from this bottom, which we traded because from there, 1, 2, waterfall 3, 4, 5, 5-wave counter in the spring. So regardless of whether or not it's a big macro correction or whatever, it's just an opportunity. Now I think there's a chance that this has been impulsive wave 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, running flat wave 2. So this is one of two things for me. Either the correction's in on the bottom of BMS, or we come down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down into this zone here, and then everyone begins to sell, thinking you're in some kind of bear market, some kind of capitulation. At that point, we should be looking at oversold conditions, and obviously the macro index presenting a buy signal on the CoinsKid.com index. At that point, 2026 could be very, very fruitful. So this is why I'm just being very cautious, because I think this is a potential scenario. We've seen a wave 1 into a sideways wave 2 that's looking to bottom this year and then breaks bull in 2026. So that is currently my primary outlook. So one of the key things I'm looking at, just like this downtrend here, this one, this one, this one, this one, and that one, I'm just looking at one thing. I'm just looking for a trend line break. So at the moment, I think we've got to respect this. If we do start to see a weekly close, a above this neckline resistance, that's it, your bottom's in from wherever you come. So until that day comes, I actually think we may actually be in some kind of A, into a B, into a C, okay, for Bitcoin. Really simple, and it can do anything it wants. It can come all the way down into this range here, whatever, but as soon as it breaks this neckline, all systems go for the next big impulsive move for Bitcoin, and that is currently my primary outlook. So we'll keep an eye on this neckline, okay? I'll drop it into the charts for you on the Discord to keep an eye on. I keep an eye on it every single day with you. So until that day comes, we've got to be cautious here for Bitcoin for the next big move up. It's the same with XRP. Let me show you an XRP chart right now, okay? So looking at XRP then, I think we have entered some kind of macro correction at this point, but I actually think all of this structure is corrective. And what we've seen is an impulsive move up into last year, and we're going sideways in a range. And this C wave, obviously, as you're fully aware, C waves can be extremely nasty. You can experience this sort of waterfall that we experienced in a C wave. So this is where we've got to apply a bit of caution, because this could go on for a while, could go on for the next couple of months, could even be over now. Who knows? No one's got a crystal ball. But one thing I'm looking at is what I've looked at before. And again, if you've just been tagged, the timestamp to this particular point of the video, please go back, watch the earlier part of the video, because it's all about the data, okay? So from this point just there, we traded this way back when, for anyone that remembers, we traded this level of resistance that once XRP took out this neckline of resistance, okay, it's all systems go for a brand new impulsive move. So this is what happened in, I think it was March of 2023. We came up into an impulse, came back in a bull flag, which was an ABC, and then boom, we broke and closed above that level of resistance, and that was the clear point for an impulsive move to the upside, which we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful. From there, sideways 2, breakout 3, sideways 4, and this is exactly what I think we're doing right now. We're caught in some kind of wave 4 correction, missing a final impulsive wave top. So one thing I'm looking at to confirm the bottom is really simple, the same as what we're looking at here. So again, copy, Control C, Control V to paste. This is your neckline of resistance, which currently we're getting rejected. We come up, get rejected once more, expect to drop, okay, into the abyss of this wick, basically. But what I think we're doing, really simple, is retracing from there to there, okay? So this is what we're doing. We're caught in a retracement right now from the 0 fib to the 1 fib. Found some support on the 236 at 217, but if we drop again, I'm looking at bids at the 382 and the 0.5 fib at 119. But what I'm looking for in time is really simple. Take out this neckline of resistance, okay? Pretty much like what we did down there. All this resistance, neckline, fantastic statement from XRP. So until that day comes, I think we're caught in a correction, unfortunately. It is what it is. So I'm just kicking back, relax, and just wait for the signal for the next impulsive move, which I'll relay to you in time, okay? So until that day comes, unfortunately, we've got the resistance of this neckline that could make us drop into the abyss of this wick, into the 382 at 155, into the 0.5 fib at 1.1915. But I keep you updated as best I can, because confirmation of the bottom of the correction of this C wave, which is what I currently think we're in. I don't think it's the beginning of a bear market. I think it's actually the C wave which we're in. So you've been in some kind of ABC at this point, will be once we break this level of resistance. I hope you understand that, okay? So stay healthy, stay strong, stay tuned. Take care, everyone. Back to an update on XRP. Bye-bye.